So then we'll figure it out. We might be sharing a headset. Hello. This is the Listen to This Bull live show. My name is Matt Mulholland. This guy I'm not going to introduce yet because, well, he's too busy texting anyway. What a schmuck. This is the show where you get to ask questions live as we are discussing a major topic, a topic that delves around bullshit across the industry. That over there is Remington Huggins, my co-host and big law extraordinaire.
Hey, nice seeing everybody this afternoon or evening. When does it become evening, Matt? That's a good question. Is it past 5?
I don't actually know.
We're in mountain time right now, so who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? Let me play this thing. Perfect. You're on. Yeah, nice. Yeah, much better. All right. Get back into here. Hey, Russ. How we doing, bud?
Russ Liz?
Russ Liz?
That guy is a genius. I want you to know that.
He's
got some brilliant ideas for the industry.
So today we're talking about this. This is John Senac. You could probably have read that. If you don't know who John Senac is, it's because you live in a cave, maybe under a rock. I bet you eat worms.
Well, I don't expect everybody to know who I am, but just a quick rundown. Roofing sales for some time. I've done some installation as well. And then last year, myself and a business partner decided to create a shingle reporting service because we felt that the current options in the market lacked detail that may be relevant to a homeowner. So we started a shingle reporting service, and that reporting service is called NTS. It's been a lot of fun. And I get to do a lot of educational stuff on Facebook through Name That Roofing, Siding, and More, which we just recently renamed the group. So, yeah.
Sweet. Boring story. You do know who John Senac is, it's because you live in a cave. You probably eat worms. And you're in this industry. How's it going, Remington? Are you at a lake, bud? Where are you at?
Lake Lanier, man. Lake Lanier. Oh. So up here trying to, work off the Wi-Fi, off the dock, and trying to get some stuff done. I was in a mediation all day, man, from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. And now I'm ready to kind of sit back and talk with you guys and talk about some shingles, some mismatch. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you already said a trigger word, man. Why are you saying trigger word so soon in the line?
What did I say? I didn't even say anything.
You said the M word.
The M word. We don't say that.
When he talks, I'm going to look this way just so it looks like we're looking at him.
That's a nice lake over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys come here. Come over here.
Oh, man. We should have set this up differently. We should have set it up to where, like, when Remington looked at you, we should have not told anybody else. And then when Remington reached the screen, my hand came over like this.
You're on the wrong side.
I'm on the wrong side.
Oh, yeah, you're on the side.
I'm too new to this process.
This is quality entertainment.
Sorry.
Hey, Javier. David Superman. So today we're going to talk about bullshit from discontinued materials. And insurance companies often say that they don't offer matching. And regardless whether you're in a matching state or not, they might say it. And there's a lot of crap that goes along with that. And I know that there's a whole bunch of stuff that you go through during your discontinued shingle masterclass.
Correct.
When does something become a masterclass?
When nobody else is teaching it and it's the only class available. Therefore, somebody would have to come in with a different level of certification, either the super master class or, when you get to self-name it, it pretty much becomes whatever you want. No, it's a single day course, and that's what I like about it. It's just one day, packed full information,
right?
And it's designed to, and actually the discontinued shingles is the smallest segment of it. It's really designed to give the well-rounded thought process of,
I think it makes sense,
handling products overall and determining, should we mix, should we repair, can it be repaired, is it still available, is it compatible, all that fun stuff.
All the compatibility and all that. I think the one day is a good idea for you. I don't know if I could handle you for more than one day anyway. So
most people can't.
That's why we can never meet up for lunch. You were always on the lake.
I know, Eddie, right?
Dude, Eddie's worth having lunch with, Remington.
Hey, I love Eddie. If you guys don't know Eddie in this industry, you guys give him a shout, man. He's got some powerful words. He knows what he's talking about.
Got powerful fists too.
Yeah, he does.
Knock you out.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't
Conrad,
necessarily want to fight with that guy. So
if I've been putting together a lot of charts and graphs and spreadsheets over the last few days, and one of the things that's on that list for other states is whether or not it's a matching state. So the whole idea behind whether or not something is a matching state, Remington, you want that question? What is a matching state, Remington?
Well, a matching state would be where legislation would implement a statute such as in Florida, as well as Tennessee. I'm just naming some states in the Southeast. I know there's multiple more, in which they say if there is a product that's discontinued, and there's a loss, a covered peril, let's just say on a roof because it's easy. And if it's discontinued, that the insurance carrier is responsible for replacing the entire roof system if there's no, compatible match to that. And also, it goes to aesthetics as well, colors and things of that effect. But that's exactly what it is when somebody says that is a matching state. That means legislation made law, made a statute that this state is matching and that the insurance carriers are responsible for making the product match. So that's exactly what it is.
I think that
it's pretty good
living in a
summary.
matching state probably makes people a little bit lazy in their argumentation. So they get to say, Conrad, I'm calling you up, man. How often do you get to say that doesn't match, and then you actually win that? That sucks. If that's what you're going for immediately, maybe you just suck at argument. Maybe I'm just being an asshole right now. I don't know.
Conrad lives in Tennessee, and so that's what he's talking about, referring to. I live in a matching state.
All right. I mean, he loves roofs. I've seen him hug one.
He does, but here, we'll just go ahead and throw this wrench in the mix early. In Tennessee, if uniform appearance or reasonably uniform appearance didn't exist prior to the loss, is it the insurance company's responsibility to match?
If what?
If uniform appearance didn't exist on the roof assembly before the loss, then are they required to match?
Yes. All right. Because all the insurance policies are written at a component level these days. It's not we will repair or replace the damaged property. We will repair or replace the damaged dwelling. No, they say we will repair or replace the damaged roofing component of the damaged property on the damaged dwelling. So, and then they break down the coverage to individual shingles. So if you're going to break down coverages that way, insurance companies, you don't get to pick and choose. If that's the way the coverage works, then you're replacing the shingle that's damaged with like kind of quality. Not the shingle that's damaged with like kind of quality to another set of shingles somewhere else on the roof, a completely separate and erroneous other component.
John, I want to know the answer to. I want to know your answer to this because, when somebody very smart asks a question, they already know the answer to it, and I want to know what your answer is to this.
Well, there's a few different ways.
This is a great question. It's a great question.
Matt's answered it on a policy level and breaking down the components of the policy, but oftentimes I'll use a great example. In the state of Kentucky, the Department of Insurance has already taken the stance that if uniform appearance didn't exist prior to the loss, then it's not owed for. That's the short version of it. So it's important to know state to state what the case law is, what the Department of Insurance has to say about the matching statute, administrative codes, legislations, whatever it is. What's the case laws and requirements and Department of Insurance? What do they all reflect in that particular state? Because that could put you into a different situation. It may not be as easy as an out as you think, because there could be a prior repair, and then it goes back to something completely different than visual match.
All right. Let me set up a little bit more baseline on this. If the whole idea of a matching state, and Remington was saying this earlier, but the idea of a matching state is they uphold either through statute or case law or something, some kind of a reasonable appearance. The idea is if a roof is fading in color, do you owe to replace all of it because you put a new shingle in and it's a completely different thing? That's the idea behind matching. If it doesn't have anything written in statute or case law, if the state has been undecided, then it comes down to policy. And it might even be something that comes down to policy in the statute if it says, unless otherwise written at the end of the statute or something along those lines. But if it hasn't been decided in the state and the policy doesn't have anything that excludes matching, then ultimately the policies generally include it. And it becomes an ambiguity argument in how your state upholds that ambiguity. So,
perfect example, Illinois is not a matching state by what most people would understand a matching state. But Illinois also has really good case law where they have deemed like, kind, and quality. And there has been cases where they had to replace full assemblies of the siding due to like, kind, and quality. And it became a matching issue. So it's not a matching state, but what was the like, kind, and quality? So that's why I think it's really important that everybody knows, and a good public adjuster and a good attorney who can interpret what does it say versus how it's actually applied in that particular state.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Remington. The term matching is not the same thing as equivalent material, right?
Well, let me read you exactly what the Florida matching statute says on maybe this exact point that you're bringing up, Matt. It says when a loss requires replacement of items and the replaced items does not match in quality, which I think maybe hits on your point, color or size, the insurance company, needs to match the rest of the system. So, and I said that in a brief at the very end, but quality to me kind of goes back to what you just said.
Well, I'm looking at you.
Oh, I thought we were looking at Remington.
No,
sorry.
Remington just reminded me of a question I've been meaning to ask.
I was looking at Remington, but if you're going to creepy look at me this way, then I can face this way too.
I'm excited about this question.
I kind of feel like left out here, guys.
This could be good. I think you should play patty cake. I forgot the fucking question.
Oh my God.
I got so excited for it.
Clearly, it was not that exciting of a question.
It's a very exciting question.
I forgot the question.
What did you just say, Remington? Remind me.
I said this. I said when a loss requires replacement of items and the replaced items do not match in quality, color, or size.
Wait a second.
All right.
And
before I forget it again.
Go ahead. Ask your question, but I'm going to add to this thought.
How do you determine the quality of a shingle?
Well, all shingles are created equal.
Oh my God.
Yes. Right, so we can't take that stance on this life. No. Something to tie back to is it's kind of important, every one of those matching statutes or administrative codes, whatever it is, to understand where the commas are and the ands and the ors, because that does make a big difference in how each one of those reads. But quality is typically dictated first by the manufacturer. And then there's other ASTM testing and various other tests that may apply. Like, it's not fair to say that a Malarkey Class 4 shingle is the same quality as a Owens Corning Oak Ridge asphalt shingle. The quality of them is different beyond just the life expectancy, right?
Right. So so that's the question. So is the warranty level
life expectancy is one
indication
way
of
you could measure quality,
right? What if it's just a gimmicky bullshit lifetime? They don't last a fucking lifetime, but they're lifetime shingles.
Well, yes. True.
Are they,
but
though?
Is quality determined by ASTM ratings? What was its win rating? Is that the highest quality shingle because it has the highest win rating?
Almost all of them have a
quality
similar rating.
Is quality rated off of impact resistance? So does it automatically become a higher quality shingle because it's Class 4 versus no class rating at all, even though they're both limited lifetime products?
I feel like you're just giving me questions instead of answers, John.
No, he's giving you both. He's giving you both. What he's trying to, all of these different questions that he's throwing in are different elements that come together to decide what the quality of a shingle should be. That's all I'm saying.
So what does like mean, Remington?
Are you asking me with policy? Or are you asking from the statute I just read?
From a statute or from a policy, the term like, kind, and quality, what does like mean?
That it's not defined in a policy on purpose, right? It's ambiguous. Let's be honest.
It might be. So it doesn't mean exact, I would imagine. So Webster's.
Because let me tell you why it's ambiguous. Because the regular homeowner who has no idea about roofing, like, kind, and quality is different to him than it is to John and Matt. And that's just the honest truth, because they just say, oh, it's a black architectural shingle, look, that's like, kind, and quality, when we all know that there's a lot of different components that come into play on that particular shingle. So that's why I say it's ambiguous. Does that make sense? If they said exact kind of quality, that's different, but they said like kind. So like is an ambiguous word that they like to use in their favor, obviously.
Do you think the word like means the same thing as the word similar?
Yeah, I could agree with that. Just off the top of my head. You don't think like is same
I
as
was
similar?
hoping you'd say no and have a good answer for that.
No, I mean, I'm a realist, and to real, just regular homeowner or commercial building owner, I mean, like and similar they can mesh together. Now I can write a whole memo, 25 pages about how they're different, but I'm just being, a realist about it.
So when we're talking about kind, though, are we talking about a broad kind or a narrow kind? Or we're talking about asphalt shingles are a whole, so they're all similar because they're all asphalt shingles? Or are we talking about it is a faux laminate 3-tab with an applique that sometimes gets called shingle?
I feel like I know which two shingles you're referring to, but this is again the reason I asked you questions. How do you define kind's going to be the same thing, right? A strip shingle is not the same kind of shingle as a laminate shingle. Is it debatable that a designer shingle is not the same as a laminate or a strip shingle, even though you can have a designer strip shingle or you can have a designer laminate shingle? And at its core,
and if they all technically get designed,
if they were the same kind, wouldn't we just have one Xactimate line item?
That's another good question. How come Xactimate line item still says 30, 35 year and then 40 year when we have no idea what any of them are?
By the way, I think that's maybe the biggest gap that exists in writing roofing at this current point in time. When the industry stopped 20-year 3-tabs and switched to 25, there was a lot of, we can't get 20-year. We'll write this for 25 on a replacement cost policy. I remember when I first entered the industry seeing that, and you kind of get excited because the roof was a little bit more valuable at that point. But we're still writing and even supplementing and daily writing for RFG 300, a 30-year laminate in a lot of scopes, instead of writing for what's actually available in the market now, which is 40 and 50-year limited lifetime products.
We have a lot of comments. I'm going to have to
Matt does not pay attention to his comments.
I was actually interested in the conversation.
Hey, Matt, I'm going to just real quick. I'm going to supplement my answer by asking you guys a question, the difference between like and similar. So I just said, well, what is really the difference between this? Take this into concept. Right. If somebody tells you, you are not exactly, you are very like this person versus you're similar to this person. To me, like is a more stronger word. Would you agree to that? If somebody says you're very like this person versus you're similar,
I can't argue with your perfect English there.
Hey man, I'm just trying to bring it to your attention, the difference. If there is a difference,
there
should be a difference. They're two different words.
If somebody's like you're very like somebody versus you're similar to somebody, to me,
what if you just said you're like somebody and not very like? Does the word very make it so strong?
Well, it does. It does.
So
just like John said, the commas and the ands and the ors, it means something.
When you make a simile, you're saying something is like.
Hey, wait, time out. We got John taking his sunglasses off. He's ready. He's getting in this.
All right,
if I was to say that you two are alike versus you two are similar,
yeah,
pretty much the same thing. I think he's right about it. I want it to be different because of the some of the functional replacement values. Functional replacement cost stuff.
There's a can of worms I could open right now, and I don't know if we want to open it. Let's deal with some questions.
What about if they don't have O&L? So this is going back when we were talking about whether they owe for matching. Well, if they don't have ordinance and law, then do they actually owe to replace the additional shingles just because of matching? I think that's an interesting question. From a policy standpoint, ordinance and law pays for the increased cost caused by the enforcement of an ordinance or a law. A statute is a law. And if the state is enforcing that law, is it an increased cost over your normal course of construction? If you really are replacing it just because the color is off, and that's the only reason, then it could be argued that ordinance law would be required. What do you think, Rem?
I've fought this 1,000 times in Florida, and it's never got to that point where it's, oh, this needs to go to the Court of Appeals in any of my cases, but this is what I do. So I think that the law trumps the policy, and that's my argument in Florida by saying, look, this is a law for all homeowners policies, and that's what it says in the actual statute itself.
So
If they say no, if they say no, there's no ordinance and law coverage, and therefore they're not afforded that statute in Florida to have matching. I say, well, what's the difference between that and the 2-year suit limitations in your period? Although the statute says you have 5 years to file a lawsuit, you can't give and take any of them. So that's my argument, and I'm telling you, it works. But yeah. So anyway.
Jordana, I want you to go to minute 20. I want you to sniff out what Remington just said, because that's gold. That's gold.
That's what I've used many times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's reasonable. If law takes precedence over the policy in one scenario, why wouldn't it in another scenario?
It basically becomes an endorsement for the policies. You're not adding coverage.
There's legitimately a code, R113.1, that says unlawful acts and defines that operating in violation of the code is unlawful. And in Florida, I think it's much worse than a misdemeanor too, isn't it?
I mean, I saw the other argument where it's still an enforcement of a law, but the law isn't being enforced as a code. The law is being enforced as a mandate for insurance policies to follow. So it's a broad coverage across all policies, not in the specific increased cost for your one job. I really like that argument, Remington. I think that that's a winner. Conrad asks, how do we best overcome? She heard me talking about her. How do we best overcome a carrier that insists that they don't owe for matching while in a matching state? I think that that's a John question.
I think that starts with Remington, but
well, it could go to all three of us, to be honest. But
let me tell you my presentation. I think that number one, it's perfectly fine for the homeowner to ask, why are you ignoring this statute or this administrative code? Please help me understand what you have that supersedes this. This is universal across the entire state. Kind of like the point Remington was just making about certain legislations, laws are going to trump the policy. So a homeowner may want to ask that question. But for me, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So if it's not a case of matching, okay, great. This is a state that requires it. But outside of that, how about all the compatibility issues? How about this from the manufacturer that says this product's no longer compatible, that explicitly says not to mix? How about the packaging that said not to mix plant to plant to begin with, right? There's reasons these exist. So I actually prefer the compatibility approach. Number one, I'm not in a matching state. Number two, it is a sound argument on almost anything. And in non-matching states, they have these stupid things called matching endorsements, which are, to me, are really, cautious things to approach. But
add the coverage in for matching, but it's
limited. They've predetermined they will only go up to this mark, right? So you can avoid that by talking about something that's relevant regardless of matching state or non-matching state, and that is compatibility. And can you repair the system? So when somebody says, hey, we're not going to pay for matching, and even though it's a matching state, there's still repairability and compatibility to review. And you're giving them 3 points to review instead of just 1 point in that particular case, and leaning on the statute, the ordinance, the administrative code, whatever it may be. This happened in Ohio a lot. And Ohio was very used to their very crystal clear administrative code.
Well, okay. And speaking of Ohio, let me pause you. Remington, what is the difference between matching and line of sight?
Ooh, this is a good one.
That's something that I'm honestly going to push that off on John, so to speak. And I think it's if you're just reading between the lines on, hey, if you're standing on the ground looking up at a roof system versus, hey, what is actually matching and what's not when you get up on top of there. That's kind of two different things, in my opinion. In Georgia, we don't really deal with that much at all. The line of sight.
Difference? Does uniform appearance and line of sight mean the same thing?
No.
Line of sight means from one point, one perspective, it should all look uniform, doesn't it? Is that what it means?
That's how I read
Or
it.
is
Especially on the
Remington saying
inside
it
of the
right
house.
to where from where you stand, if it's close enough that you can barely tell from the ground that there's a problem, is that line of sight?
I'm going to put it to you this way, because there's a really good speaker that said this. If you had a cookie cutter neighborhood, all the houses are the exact same. They were a spec home. They're all built the same. Maybe, right, used to have responsibility of the HOA, but basically it's not that anymore. Every house is the same. And two houses were for sale, and they were right next to each other. And one had an unsightly repair anywhere on it. Back of the roof, front of the roof, both the same price. Which house do you buy?
Okay. I'm going to pull in a different question that's in here right now.
Okay. Because the line of sight to me, if you can stand on the ground and it's going to affect any of that thought at all, that to me falls under line of sight.
So I have a question for you that goes along with that, but I'm going to read this question because it ties into it too. I am not an imagining state, but I have case law, Sims versus Erie Insurance 2014. In that case, jury found mismatched materials devalued the homes. We're getting into home value. So
we're talking about diminished value.
Diminution. I don't know if that's the same word. Diminution of value has been excluded in almost every policy in Georgia, but it was upheld in case law that it was owed. And then once that was upheld, then they wrote it out, all the policies and the renewals. Do you think that an insurance company, Remington, do you think an insurance company can knowingly put an individual into a position where they are devaluing the home, even though they don't cover diminution of value?
You're probably not going to like my answer, but as long as that homeowner signs off on it, I mean, the policy is the policy in the sense of saying, hey, look, we're not going to cover for diminished value, because there is policies that still do cover for diminished value, diminution in value, if you will. And John's scenario, I use this same exact scenario, but I say mold. I say if one house had mold, the other one didn't, but they're the same price, which one would you buy? You know what I'm saying? Even though the mold was remediated, like which one would you buy? You would buy the one without the mold if it's the same exact, So, that's the example I use.
I'm going to give you my counter argument, Ron.
Yeah, let me hear it.
So diminution of value is the difference in value of the home after the loss. The loss occurred and it reduced the value of the home, and they don't owe for that reduction. They just owe to repair it. Well, we're not talking about the reduction of the home caused by the loss. I'm talking about the reduction of the value of the home caused by the insurance company's method of repair. Do they have the ability, because they don't owe for it as it's caused by the loss, but can they put someone in a position by not allowing a proper repair to be done? Can they put someone in a position where they are reducing the value of the home?
Well, I think there's a difference between proper repair and materials maybe not looking the same.
Set aside proper repair for a second.
I knew that was a bad setup.
I think that's.
When you said that, I cringed a little bit.
Yeah, I did too. I wanted to pull it back. I was like, no,
but it was so good. I was there, man. I was feeling it. I heard proper repair, and I went, pew. Yeah.
Right. So instead of, because of their repair methodology and proper repairs, can they put someone in a position where they could replace everything? They could pay for it to be done to where the house doesn't devalue more. How do I want to ask this?
What about this? If there's bottom cabinets and the top and bottom don't match, but they have, there is no matching of those, and they replace it, it obviously devalues the inside, the property. Does that help you at all?
I guess so, but I mean, really, that's just it's not a proper repair thing. It's still just a repair, but they're not matching components of a set. Yeah, that helps. How do you feel about that argument? I guess, since you gave me half of it.
What else you got? Think about this. Every time there's an auto accident, because your car, your truck gets repaired, they do send you they're supposed to, you got to ask for it, people. Okay. Yeah. They send you a check for diminished value, because that car is now less value that has been wrecked, even though it's repaired perfectly back to its pre-loss condition. No, that value still goes down. You know what I'm saying? No, so you got to apply that to property.
Going back to your auto example, if they decide to use non-original
OEM.
equipment manufacturer, OEM parts. That reduces the value of the vehicle, not because of the loss, but because of the way the repairs are paid for. Can they put someone in that position in a dwelling policy?
I fight these all the time. I mean, I don't understand why insurance companies don't do the same what they do with auto that they do with roofs or any type of home loss. You know,
money on auto, probably.
You don't put a you don't put an
I can
Acura
tell you,
bumper on
I've
a
helped a lot of
Chevrolet.
friends with their auto claims, and they suck just as bad on auto, just differently. All right, Javier, as contractors, can we send TDI bulletin to carrier? That's a good question. Can't, because it's coming from the Texas Department of Insurance. Is it insurance related to where a contractor couldn't send a bulletin? It's not part of the policy. Like owing O&P on claims in Texas, or even the TDI bulletin that says that you must assume that loose shingles are loosened as a result of wind.
Why not? I would send it.
But it's coming from the Department of Insurance. Does that make it a public adjuster action? I don't think it does. I don't want to say it does. It's definitely not part of the policy. A bulletin is written to policyholders as a whole. So it should be general information, right?
I don't see anything wrong with sending a bulletin to a carrier.
What if it was a directive?
I still do not believe that. I still do not see anything wrong with a contractor sending that information to a carrier. Hey, look, you're a public adjuster you have a license to talk policy, right? You know, you're an attorney to talk law, like legally.
Sure.
I don't see where that steps into that realm.
Well, here's.
Are you telling them that they're breaching contract by not doing it this way?
Is there anything
that's different?
Is there anything from the Texas Department of Insurance bulletin that a contractor would need to know, that would hold the contractor accountable? Is there anything in there that applies to the contractor?
What he said. That was good.
Because if there's anything applicable to the contractor,
none of us are Texas attorneys.
Yes. If there's anything, if anything in the Texas Department of Insurance bulletin is applicable to the contractor, like contractor must collect deductible, or like anything like that existed in there, to me, that's now a fully open document that I, without a public adjuster or attorney's license, if it's directed to me, why can't I send that to somebody else?
Matching equals oversimplification.
This is Sarah.
Yes, Sarah.
I know because it's 4 paragraphs.
No,
and Sarah.
that
Sarah
would be,
is always well typed out. Let's read this. Hang on. Matching. Oversimplification.
You got your voice.
No, I don't want to do
oversimplification.
Nobody can duplicate Sarah's voice, by the way.
Stick with
I was
what
doing like
Matt,
radio
John, and Remington suggest. Reasonable pre-loss uniform appearance. Public. I got to get closer to the mic. Public adjusters. Appearance is not the only consideration in our work. Age, remaining useful life, and many other considerations under the broad evidence rule can be applied, along with the policy language. Hey, Remington, can you explain the broad evidence rule? That gets thrown around a lot without anybody ever defining it.
Which state?
Any state, just as a general concept in law.
Okay, so, well, sometimes it comes in with, like, for instance, it's a known thing such as like actual cash value. We all know and typically the states know it's replacement cost minus depreciation is actual cash value. That's just broad evidence rule. You bring that in, it's just common knowledge. However, Matt, in different states, it means different things, such as in Georgia, sometimes, or they're trying to argue different things. Virginia, it means, like, for instance, actual cash value is the value of the property before the loss and the value of the property after the loss. So you bring in the broad evidence of, no, this is like industry standard for it to be replacement cost minus depreciation minus deductible equals actual cash value. I don't know if that helped you at all, but that's my off the cuff explanation of it.
My take on it, without getting any training and just making assumptions from context clues from the shit that I've read, broad evidence rule means that you can bring in evidence from a broad range of places, anything that could reasonably be construed to support your position and what you're doing. If it's reasonable, broad evidence is all the evidence that could support your position. That was my very layman, out of context clues definition in my head.
Yeah, it's not binding information, but it's persuasive in a sense of saying, hey, look, this is what all these other states are doing. And that's why I say about the actual cash value, because different states have different definitions of actual cash value. That's why I brought in the regular definition that we all use.
Well, there's plenty of states that actually, on some of those ACV lists, that'll actually say whether or not it's RCV minus depreciation equals ACV, or fair market value, or broad evidence rule, whatever it might be. All right.
So while Matt's looking for more questions here.
Andrew loves the topic.
I'm glad Andrew loves
read
this
between
topic.
the lines, he really means I love John.
So how's this scenario pan out at its just basic level? As a homeowner, if my home had a roof assembly, not system, a roof assembly that was properly constructed and built of the same materials before the loss, why can't I get it back that way after the loss, or from the loss as a result of the loss? Why can't I return it to that status? It was properly constructed and had all the same product on there, all compatible products. There's the key word.
Okay.
All compatible products on there before the loss. And then 1, 2, 5, 10, however many shingles blow off. Why can't I get it returned to that status after the loss?
Are you saying that there's either a non-matching state or exclusion?
Doesn't matter what state it is.
Doesn't matter what
Why
state.
can't I get it returned to that?
Why can't you?
I'm asking you
I'm
and you.
asking you the same question, but it means a different thing in the way I'm asking it. Different inflection. Why can't you? I don't know how to inflect it differently to make it say what I'm trying to say, but
Well, here's where I'm going with that. If my house had a roof assembly that was properly constructed of compatible materials before the loss, and I'm being asked to mix products and shove this product up the other product's butt, and they do this all the time, and this is okay.
it's not okay.
But that's not what it was beforehand. And technically, if there's a document, a code, a manufacturer specification that says that we shouldn't do that, recommendation or not, absent of any other documentation, the recommendation still supersedes no other documentation for it being compatible, and we're forced to do it. Was it fair to maybe request my carrier to amend the policy to allow coverage for improper installation, since that's what I'm being trapped into?
All right. So I don't think your question matched your answer. I don't really know what the question was, because you could have gone in so many different ways. Actually, it did.
All right, let me narrow the scope of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, it's built properly, and it's built of all compatible products, and there's no more compatible products for that roof.
Well, incompatibility means a repair can't be made. Remington, you
So-
say this all the time.
If I'm being asked to mix that, and they're saying it's fine, you can mix products, all the excuses that contractors here in the field and homeowners here, and you're being forced into that, right? That's we're not going to budge at all. Is it fair to maybe request an amendment of the policy to allow for improper construction, since we're being trapped into it as a homeowner?
Are you actually asking if we should ask them to amend the policy?
Just curious.
To amend it to reduce your coverage for you?
No. I want more coverage. I want coverage for a loss that results from improper construction, since that's what I'm being asked to do.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Did I get way too technical here?
You lost me halfway along. I was following some thought patterns. All right, so you want to ask to amend the policy to include damage that results from the improper installation.
That's what I'm being asked to do.
Even if it doesn't have an ensuing loss provision, which it might. So if so you're saying, hey, Mr. Adjuster,
I'll do this repair, this improper repair.
you're telling me to do it this way. I'll do it. But you have to accept liability for this, or your company does in the future with a policy amendment. I want you to attach an endorsement to my policy.
Until I sell my home, you own this repair.
Remington, can an insurance company force you to make repairs that aren't proper?
I would say force, no, but they do it all the time. I mean, seriously, that's when you need to get a public adjuster involved. If it doesn't work there, go to an attorney. I mean, seriously, they force claims to go to an attorney no matter what, or a public adjuster. I mean, they do. They know that. So
what if they say, without ever stepping foot on a roof? I actually have to ask this question in a second. Without ever stepping foot on the roof, thank you. Take that over. What if they say from photos, watching your attempted repair videos and all that, if they say, well, we just disagree, we think it's repairable, can the carrier actually make that determination without a basis for the denial?
that's bad faith. And I don't throw that around regularly.
He does not. I'm actually surprised you said it. Getting you to tell me what is bad faith is sometimes difficult.
I don't throw that around much at all, people.
That's the extreme of the question here.
Yeah.
Obviously, if every claim could just be managed by the homeowner, we wouldn't have the diverse roles that exist in the claim process right now. So there are ones that the heels are just dug in, and I've had them just tell me, and the homeowner on a phone call, we've settled the loss based on our inspection. And there's plenty of evidence supporting a different case. So they can absolutely go into, in short term, we're not going to budge, right? That's the reality of it. But my question was poised to, can we really be forced into a position as a homeowner to have to accept a repair? So it kind of comes down to, if this is the only scope that's going to be provided, who owns it? Is it the contractor who said we already can't do it? Is it the carrier who said you have to do it? Is it the homeowner who then has to find another contractor? What if the second contractor says, no, we can't do it? If they aren't going to budge on the scope, who owns the problem? Because once it's done, everybody's out. Insurance doesn't own it. Contractor won't come back to see it. They make you sign a waiver for repairs, or say on most repairs that they 30 days, no warranty, whatever it may be. So who owns it? And if they're going to say, no, we think it's still repairable, how do you get them to commit to that then? Okay, if you think it's still repairable, who owns it? Will you own it? Are you going to own it for the lifetime that I own this house? Even if I switch coverage and still own the house for the next 10 years, are you going to own the repair?
I think death threats are the only way.
Honestly, I think mailing a Christmas card with a glitter bomb is a pretty good idea. Like, it looks like a nice little package and then a glitter bomb. So public records, guys, I mean, if Hail Trace can find out the information of everybody's addresses when they send you hail maps, right, I'm pretty sure we can find out their addresses. Right. First thing you do is get the full name of everybody that you're working with.
One fleck of glitter for every point on their credit score that you can also get on Hail Trace.
I just have an issue with that. That's one of the bigger issues I have is who owns the repair?
I think it's a good question, because you can't sue the carrier for liability on that, because ultimately the contractor that's performing the work, unless the carrier actually physically or in writing agrees, maybe if there is a prescriptive method of repair written by an engineer that's actually taking on the liability. Otherwise, it's on the contractor.
I do too.
Performs the work is liable.
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that's the reality of it.
I realize, yeah. So as the reality, but then if the contractor says, no, I can't do that, and the carrier says, well, we're not paying anything else, and the homeowner isn't going to pay the difference, and that's why we're in this pickle. That whole scenario, that's what we in the industry like to call bullshit.
I don't call it that.
Okay, maybe it's just me.
Here's a good thing, maybe, that
you should call it gainfully employed.
I think James has an interesting question here. Like, kind, and quality of that shingle new, or the used shingle is currently on the roof. So if you were trying to match, if you're replacing a shingle with a new shingle and you're supposed to match like, kind, and quality to the old shingle, is it like, kind, and quality of the way the shingle was when it was new, the original shingle, or is it like, kind, and quality, meaning does it just have to match the lifespan that's left in the current shingle? I think with a replacement cost policy, it'd have to be when it was new.
New.
But if it's ACV, It still starts with the replacement cost minus depreciation. So you're depreciating the age and everything already. So you're kind of taking account to it. So the actual cash value could be an actual true pre-loss condition. And a pre-loss condition would be the current age and condition of those shingles just prior to the storm.
It's new. It needs to be new.
If it's replacement cost, definitely. If it's an ACV only policy, or if it's a roof that changes to ACV after a certain age, does that make a difference? I know that adjusters treat it that way a lot. Steve Patrick definitely agrees with that.
Okay.
I feel like I should ask FCNS that question. That might be a good one for them. That's a good question. As an actual cash value coverage, I think that it could be argued that way. Do you have FCNS? Where's Sarah Parker? I know she's got it. She can look it up while we're doing the thing.
Sarah's awesome, by the way, guys. I don't know if you know
Yes.
her, but she's great.
Plus, she has that cool voice. I think I might have done her voice better than she did, though.
It was similar. Okay.
Yeah, it was very like.
It was not very like. It was similar.
It was very like. Javier says like they're forcing it to appraisal or PA, so they don't pay true expense charges by contractors. If you're forcing it to some format that the policyholder has to pay additional funds in order to gain their coverages, that's bullshit, and it happens all the time. Compatibility, comparability. I think he meant compatibility.
Well, don't some administrative codes say reasonably comparable appearance? So comparable would be more of the matching element of the administrative
he
code.
Meant compatibility. He even responded later. Let me see if I can find a good question. Sarah asks, could we send it? I didn't even read the question yet. I already said something about that.
Sarah,
Perfect.
I'm
Sarah,
not surprised that you were way ahead of Matt thinking that. And Matt's got a really high IQ, but I'm still not surprised that Sarah figured that out first.
I'm not either. Compatibility documentation is huge. That's what she said.
What's NTS?
You don't know what NTS is?
Mm-mm.
All right. I can't think of anything because right now the N word keeps popping in my head to start it off and I can't get it up. That's messed up. It's messed up, Matt. It's messed up, man. Something wrong with my head right now. Compatibility is the way. Reasonably. All right, we got to get into an actual question. All right, Sarah. Workmanlike state of maintenance and repair means complying with all codes and ordinances pertaining to construction of buildings and installation utilities. That is out of the IPMC, the International Property Maintenance Code. Or she just looked it up on Webster's Dictionary or something.
That's right out of Sarah's diary. She wrote that. Quote Sarah's diary when you are.
This is how she talks about men when she was a teenager in her diary. Workman-like.
No, that is a good one because a lot of people don't really get into that.
I don't know what she was saying. It was at 4:33.
It was a
while ago.
I mean, you are so far
I'm
behind.
so far behind.
Someone's got to help you manage your
You
lives.
guys I don't normally get this many comments. I think it's your fault. I used to live in Texas and I used TDI bulletins, but that was before they beefed up UPA. I think that must have been the no thing. Broad evidence rule isn't always the same in every state. She's way ahead of us. And some don't have it at all.
At this point, we're so far past these.
Love you guys.
Scroll to the bottom and work our way back up.
Here's a question. Is IEBC enforceable nationwide?
No, it is not.
No, it has to be adopted by the
Yeah,
municipality.
you have to find out if they've adopted. In fact, there's some states where it's not adopted at all. But then of the states that have it available, you need to find out from your local municipality if it's adopted.
I don't know if his question actually changes anything. What do you say to the adjuster? Todd Bethard asks, what do you say to the adjuster who tells you to cut the color matching shingle to fit?
I'm going to ask John.
Yeah, this is a John question. Does that change it, though? Does it matter that it's a color matching shingle?
All right. First of all, most endorsements, most statutes, most administrative codes say size, kind, or color, right? Quality.
No, they
Right.
don't say size. They say differences of texture or
No, not
Dimensional
matching
differences.
not matching endorsements.
Oh,
I'm talking the actual.
no, I'm talking about exclusions.
not exclusions.
You're talking
Not
about the
exclusions.
statutes.
I'm talking about the statutes, right?
Yes,
Remington,
they do
don't
say
they
size.
typically say size?
Yeah.
Right. So if they've allowed for matching and say, hey, you can match this shingle still matches. You just need to trim it. They've skipped one of the three things that are commed out. It's not and, but you need to pay attention, right? If it's or, any one of those apply exclusively. See where the commas are in there too. So I would very closely pay attention to whatever your local matching state, however it verbiages it in there. But here's a couple of thoughts. If you're trying to trim from the top or the bottom for it to match height-wise, that's not okay. That's not in any manufacturer spec that exists out there. Don't believe me? Read all of them. Call me. I've read all of them, okay? Outside of that, I do have a video about the English metric comparison on YouTube, John the Roof Pro. There's not very many videos, but it spells it out and how you can explain trimming shingles.
I've been thinking of plagiarizing it.
Oh, we absolutely should, right? We should do it the 2.0 version, the
I
Matt
was just
Malone
going to
version.
steal yours.
But if you read a manufacturer's, here's my presentation of this every single time when this comes up, is what publication, instruction, standard, or guideline did they get that from? Because I want to know where it says we can trim shingles and see if they can produce anything. Odds are they're not going to be able
It
to produce
says so in
anything.
engineer reports, and they know what they're talking about. They're
And
engineers.
Then they can write a prescriptive repair if they're experts on it. But combing through any manufacturer's installation guide, every place there's a trim shingle, there's a feature underneath it. There's typically going to be flashing, a component, a valley lining, ice and water shield, starter course, end wall flashing, sidewall flashing. Almost every place you trim, there's something else that exists under the shingle where you're trimming it. Outside of that, nowhere in any manufacturer's installation instruction have I ever found a small segment down at the end that says, if all else fails, you can make a CYO roof or create your own roof, and you can just cut shingles to whatever size you want. I've never seen a fuck it instruction that said, you know what, let's just throw in the towel and we'll just cut them how we want to cut them. Trim your own. You can make triangles if you want, right? That doesn't exist. And until you can produce those documents, I'm not, as the person responsible for the repair, I'm not going to sit there and entertain that unless you can produce documents that show me a CYO roof. If you got a CYO roof instruction, fucking give it to me.
I love it. Hey, do me a favor and fast forward to 52 minutes and 10 seconds. You know, John, to hear that. I love that.
Fuck it instruction.
God, I hate that one. I just that one. If you couldn't tell, that one gets under my skin a little bit.
But the thing is, I mean, John, it's crazy. These engineers, Hague engineers and Donan engineers, this is what they're recommending. This is real life. This is real.
If y'all
life.
think I don't make it through a day without somebody sending me a Facebook message saying Allstate saying to do this, Hague saying to do this, Donan saying to do that, I get it because of the platform that I'm on. Everybody's like, well, we got an ITEL or we got an NTS report, and they're still saying to do this. What do we do now? So I'm very aware that any party is still saying it. I'm still waiting for somebody to send in like directions from Disneyland on how to do a roof, and I'm gonna be like, cool.
Yeah,
this is
I
perfect.
once had an engineer tell me to paint shingles to match.
Now, wait a second. Let's
And
really
a
get into
report.
matching. How long in a policy does it allow for matching to take place? Like if it's does it give you 6 months? It'll match in 6 months. It'll
All right,
match
so
in a year.
That's a spatter argument. So yes, I bring this up in my class.
I love this one.
it. So think about spatter and think about spatter on a wood fence. It cleans a spot off, right? Maybe it's not stained; it's just natural wood. In reality, it's actually taking some cells off of the board, and that's why it looks clean. You're just knocking the oxidized layer off. You're actually removing a layer of the wood, which is technically still damaging it because it's altering it physically. However, if it is going to come back and match and become a reasonable uniform appearance eventually, does the policy require that the policyholder remain in a state of damage or a state of non-uniform appearance for a specific amount of time, or does it pay immediately to bring you back to that pre-loss condition? I don't know if I'd ever actually make that argument about spatter, but it is an interesting concept. And this is something that Frank Dalton and I got into at one time. And that was his argument. And I agree with him.
Texting me Allstate claims while this is going. What about this one? Just comment in the comments. You know, if only there was a comment section where.
I think you're talking about codes right here is what Sarah's talking about.
She was answering the other person's question about whether or not they adopt the IEBC. All right. To the mismatched shingle point, the insurer leaves you made whole in the scope of the repair, but case law says it devalues the home, so I have not been made whole. I have been left damaged. Knowledge of this and still closing the claim as mismatched shingles is acting in bad faith. Just my caveman, 2.5 cents. Did we get away from just 2 cents or inflation?
Yeah,
It's inflation.
Taxes.
Thank you all. Very helpful information. I think that she got off of it on us.
And hey, I feel like I need to say this because, you know, I'm on as the co-host and as the attorney. When Sarah was talking about the broad evidence rule, there's like different. It also, I just want to clarify because I feel like I need to. It's things like actual cash value is replacement cost minus depreciation. We all know that. But the broad evidence brings in other evidence such as the type of shingle, the location of the loss, things like that come into the depreciation that actually calculate the actual cash value. So I just want to be clear about that. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a good one right here. OC says in one bulletin, it's a bulletin regarding the OC Pro 30. They say you it's a terrible bulletin. We're trying to get it pulled. But it basically says that you shouldn't mix this. But if you do have to perform repairs on it, you should repair the whole plane. But if you can't repair the whole plane, you can trim the shingle, right? Like it is a very.
Did you say the word plane?
Slope roof. I don't remember how it's worded. I have to pull it up. I don't have my computer with me. I thought I'd got my backpack for stuff like this. But then they have 3 letters that explicitly say the shingles aren't compatible. And that word exists in code. Compatibility 904.2 says that a roof assembly shall be constructed of products that are compatible with each other and to the assembly to which they're being installed. So that's a code. Yeah. And if there's 3 letters that say it's not compatible, then to me, the tech bulletin would not be my leading presentation in that situation. But then they also have the OC duration one that says, can you mix duration and duration true def? And it says, no, that's it. So this is John brought this issue up to me before, and I realize we have a shit ton more comments to get to, and we're about to wrap up, but bullshit on our side. When you are measuring a shingle to determine if it's currently being made, or if you're about to send it to ITEL or something along those lines, if you're measuring the shingle and sending photos of your measurements in, and you're falsifying those measurements to make it something that is discontinued, even though it really isn't. Maybe you're moving your camera from your tape just a little bit off, and then you're doing that close-up where you move your tape a little bit. If you're doing that, shame on you. That's bullshit. Don't do that. Don't feed bullshit.
It's called fraud.
There's plenty of bullshit in the system already. You don't need to feed it. That is fraud.
And I've seen the report. I've seen one posted in a group, and I've actually been out to reinspect where they couldn't get the claim approved, and the first contractor couldn't get it done. And I was the second person in, and it's always tough being the second contractor. But I got to see the ITEL report on it. And in looking at all the details in the ITEL report, when I spec'd the shingle out on the roof versus what was done through the ITEL app were completely different. So someone either really did not know how to use the app or intentionally manipulated the information in there to get a discontinued or undetermined result. And if that's what it's being used for, then that's not good. It doesn't matter if you're a contractor. It doesn't matter if you're an independent adjuster just trying to get the claim approved. It's not the right thing to do. Right?
That's just as bad as ITEL coming back with bullshit on their reports.
Yeah. So
we complain about that.
Stay away from that. I don't want to see that on anybody's side. And I hope to fix that by the end of the year.
Are you guys changing the name of NTS to NTS S&M?
What is wrong with you guys? It's like some people don't understand some basic concepts. NTS is a shingle identification service right now, and it's going to identify some other surfaces. That's ideally what the S stands for, is surface. And then we developed this Facebook group that blew up into this beforehand. The Facebook community existed well before, and they were just so closely connected that the initials have changed because 2 reasons. One, we want to be welcoming to a lot of other experts in the industry. We'd really like to see more siding experts and some tile experts in there, right?
Name that Barbie doll.
But there needs to be a very clear detachment between that community and a very professional reporting service because
Now, you started, don't act like it's your audience's problem. You guys started with a Name That Shingle,
Yes.
and then you called something NTS. What do you think they were going to think that it meant? Nobody believes that S is for surfaces.
Name That Shingle is a great abbreviation, but it's NTS ID. It's that service identification. So,
but you call it NTS. You don't add the ID part.
Exactly.
You should. So S stands for surfaces.
Yeah.
Name that surface.
Hell, we may
if I
change
send you like a counter,
we may change it to Name That something at some point.
Name that shit.
Yeah, we may change it to that.
I'm
But
gonna
the
send you
reality
photos
is
of turds.
they're two very detached things.
You're
There is
getting turd
a
pics from
company
now on.
that identifies products that leans on
I have a
manufacturer's
lot of turd
documents,
pics.
and there is a community, which I think is a pretty good Facebook community. It's got
My
about
wife.
10,000 people in it.
My wife really likes the bucket instruction. I think she's got a couple of these that keeps hidden from me.
The fucking instruction. Ask your adjuster for
See,
the fucking instruction.
He even says shingle. Evolve love.
Evolve love. I'm gonna
If
see.
that's a person's real name.
I'm gonna find that person and kick him out of the group real quick.
Any positives in a contract to be Hague certified? So glad I was the one
Actually,
asking this.
Nolan asked this question, and I see merits to both sides. You're unfortunately asking somebody who's probably going to be super unbiased because Matt's very unbiased about this. So
I'm
you
not
go
biased
first.
at all about this whatsoever. No, never. I wouldn't be. Why would I be? You know,
Only get NCI certified. That's all that matters, people.
I think you should go to a place that teaches you things that benefit policyholders as well as insurance companies, and not just one side or the other. And that's all I'm going to say. I think we're going to move on from that one so we don't get sued. Are contractors even able to get Hague certified?
Wait a second. Aren't there things in Hague certification? It's like anything, right? If you are you using it to its entirety, right? Do you think every adjuster that's out there that's Hague certified is using Hague to its entirety, or are they just focusing on how does it handle the policy, the carrier side?
Are you talking about using the engineering firm or using the certification of what they teach? Because there's like this much information. There's entirety. It doesn't take much.
Nolan's question is it going to better his ability to communicate or negotiate with an adjuster because he has the same certification?
I don't know. I kind of doubt it.
Okay.
I
view it very similar to shingle reporting versus the other company that's out there and the discrepancy in information between the two. Your course, which I've taken, is fantastic, by the way. Go to the NCI Shingle Comp course. Is 5 days of information that really, really is beneficial to everything from understanding what damage is, the anatomy of the roof, the build of the roof. Really, it's going to better your customer service process, all of it, versus the limitations of the other courses. But I think that we get fed very basic stuff from Hague certified people, but there's probably more to it that's not being brought to the surface.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information that is glossed over that if they really delved into it, they would be able to say this could actually benefit the policyholder. And that seems to be like cover this out. The problem that I have with it is that they've defined damage in a very narrow way, which doesn't match the policies, but they're teaching an insurance world how to use their definition of damage that doesn't match the policies, and in that very narrow way. And now they're teaching desk adjusters the same thing. And the desk adjusters are looking at photographs. They don't even get to feel it. And part of what they taught before was that you have to feel it. So how are they teaching a desk adjuster to do something that they taught before that you have to feel?
Let me give you my short answer to it, okay? Last summer, I was on a cedar shake roof, and the inspector gets on the roof. And after getting all the basic photos, he goes, okay, what do we got? So I show him the first mark, and I said, see this one here? I said, and I took my hands and I took my fingers and I pushed on the outside of the shake, right? Just to kind of lightly express the split. And he goes, oh, wow. Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like in the HAG photos. Or the HAG training. Okay. He took the online course and he called it the HAG training. And this is who was evaluating the damage on that roof. That was a problem.
when the forensic engineers that show up on site as the expert that's going to provide the basis for coverage or denial has been to a 3-day course and passed an exam and that is the extent of their credentials for roofing surfaces, there's a problem. Yes, if at least to learn the ins and outs of any erroneous arguments and or incomplete information from the material. I think Sarah's going to go check out FCNS for us. Inflation. We shall tell OC that all contractors will stop buying OC shingles until we get that pulled. Well, that would work. Actually, let's start that movement. Where's Owens Corning at? How come they don't watch the show? Schmucks. I think they mean 3-tab and architectural. And people finding us by accident looking for S&M. That's the reason you changed the name? Oh, that makes sense.
Yep. Bingo.
That's good. All right, guys, I'm going to have to cut this off. I'm going to post this one up because it's awesome. NCI is better, bar none. I do want to get NCI certified. However, just wanted thoughts on how an interaction between an adjuster who always chooses an eye based on Hague and a contractor who's certified with Hague. If they're going to choose to deny it regardless, using Hague as their reasoning, you're not going to make any difference by getting that certification.
No.
That's the reality.
Get NCI.
More information.
Yeah.
It's not going to make a difference for you. If you got a certification that held more weight instead, and you actually had more information and had the confidence and knowledge to be able to say, well, what you just said is complete bunk, and here's why, that would give you something to work with. That's what we can provide for you. All right. So I'm in Denver. John says, I'm not putting any more comments up, guys. Thank you for the comments and questions, but I have to cut this off. We're already past an hour and we've got to go do some stuff. We're in Denver. John has a discontinued shingle masterclass going on. Are there seats available still?
There are 7 seats left.
You got 7 seats left. It is 4:52 local time. I bet if you purchase tickets in the next 10 minutes, you might be able to get one of those 7.
Just shoot me a message on Facebook if you want to join, and we'll figure out the billing part tomorrow because I'm going to enjoy dinner tonight, but I'll make sure you have a spot.
There you go.
Because I get to hear from Matt, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be talking too. But really, you go for John. That's fun because it's really a John thing because he's awesome and he's taller than me, which tells you a lot about a guy.
Just a skosh.
Hey, that was a great show today. Awesome stuff. Good material.
All right, so I got good news. The merchandise page is up on our website, listentothisbull.com. You can buy t-shirts. We have t-shirts. You can actually purchase them, which would be fantastic because Listen to This Bull doesn't make any money.
I've been going around shirtless for a long time. So now that I know I can buy Listen to This Bull shirts.
He only wears hoodies. That's it. No shirt under.
Like anything I ever do, I have like 3 hoodies. That's it.
I'll get you a hoodie.
It's going to be real awkward at dinner tonight if they say I can't wear the hoodie.
You're like, all right.
That would be great.
Hopefully he's at a tiki bar.
I bet if I put the hat on you, they would feel like you're just some kind of weird eclectic billionaire or something.
Well, we are in Colorado. I mean, you can wear man capris here. You can probably go shirtless.
You can get away with it.
I could wear man capris anytime.
We're good.
This face
you can.
says that guy wears man capris.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you for having me on.
See you guys. Take it easy.
I will go next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. See you later.